You're listening to Evergreen Media Network. I am Sydney Schwartz, and this is the Patient Partner Show. It's a podcast also on Spreaker, so look us up on that on many of the platforms on Spreaker. Jeannie Roller, you have a topic today that is quite interesting, and it shouldn't be as interesting as what you're going to make it, because it should be the norm. And so let's just talk about that. It's called end-of-life care. And your question is, why is it seemingly... And again, this is all our opinions, things that happen to us, people that we know, people that we interviewed. I mean, we have so many stories that just isn't enough hours in the day to tell them. It's just crazy. I mean, I wish we would work ourselves out of a job, if you will, in a lot of ways. But why are we afforded seemingly end-of-life care with dignity and respect, and then up until that point, it doesn't seem that that's what we're getting in this arena, in this health, what we call a healthcare arena, Jeannie. So go ahead and expound on that.
Well, I want to read a semi-quote from a president of a hospital. Helping our patients maintain dignity in care means treating them the way we'd like to be treated, with patience, compassion, caring, and respect. And this is someone talking about end-of-life care for patients. And that's true, Cindy. You kind of laughingly said earlier, for 77 years, we are kind of treated with disrespect and abuse. But in the last week of life, they're going to start caring about respect and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are things we shouldn't have to wait for. These are things that they should be talking to us about in the beginning when they first meet us, and having refreshers along the way. They should want to know what we need in order to feel respected by them, and a respect for our bodily privacy. Some people are fine with having care from either male or female health caregivers. Some people are not. Some people do not mind students being available during care. Some do. Some people don't want to be undressed more than what needs to be during care. Some people don't care. They need to start talking to us and asking us, what do you need as a patient, as a person in care? They should be communicating with us and making sure that we understand the information, instead of just, spouting off blah, 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 and say, yep, your 15 minutes is over. They should make sure that we know why they're wanting to do a certain kind of treatment, why they want to give us a certain kind of medicine.
Well, I think the question you're actually bringing up, Jeannie, is, and we've talked this so many times, is that's the big box healthcare. So the questions that we're asking is, that's what we remember, and it's sad to say that, of the norm of the healthcare system. And in many places you can still find it. We talk about that. We do talk about that. I mean, I personally seek it out. Anymore, what I do is I leave. I'm not even going to have the conversation anymore. If I see that the situation is not going to go where it's dignified and whatever, I just have to leave, because I've just seen too much of it. I don't understand how that operates. But that's the question right there. Why has it gotten to that? The healthcare does exist in decent, dignified care in many avenues. Yes, it is totally facetious that for 77 years, I said that, and then 1 week of at the end of your life, now we're going to try to give you dignified care. That's absurd. That whole premise is it's absurd. It's absurd, my opinion. I don't even think you can label it anything different than that. The care should be what it should be all along. And these mills, if you will, patient mills, there's another term that I wish I didn't even hear or know about. There's your answer. I mean, it was brought up about puppy mills. People got in trouble for that. Well, what are we doing with these patient mills? Isn't that what they are? I mean, it's been brought up that the cruelty to animals, when you have them in farms and whatever, there's so many crammed into this, there's so much there's so much blah, blah, blah. We've talked about prison systems, right? That seemingly prisoners have more rights than medical patients do. Yeah. We've talked about that on other podcasts, right? It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy, and that's not the right word. It isn't.
Yeah. Well, and part of these questions that they're supposed to be asking patients are, how do they want to be cared for when providing personal care, such as bathing or dressing? Ask the patient about their preferences and give them choices. Tell them in advance what you're doing, especially if you must touch them. Protect physical privacy when giving a bath or dressing the person, for instance. Cover them with a towel or blanket. Uncover only the part of the body that is being washed or dressed, and recover and clothe that body before moving on to the next area. Why do we have to wait till we die for them to do this? And it seems so absurd, as you said,
it is,
that this isn't done all the way through. But then I think it comes back, like we've said before, to the big box corporation type of hospital, where it's a business. You put people in a cattle chute and then you just send them on through. You don't care. You don't look left or right. You just keep going.
And it goes back to a lot of the educational premises too. I mean, my opinion, if you're being taught how to be an RN in 6 and 8 months, and maybe some of that isn't totally across the board, but I mean, in much less time, then it just stands to reason that there's much less time spent on certain things. I mean, it has to be. You can't cram 4 years of what it used to be education, and maybe that was too long. I don't know. I didn't go to nursing school, but I mean, maybe 4 years of teaching a person how to care for patients was too long, and a year and a half now is enough. I disagree with that because I think there's a lot lost in the communication and the context. I've said that before in other podcasts, and I've had people in the industry, in the healthcare industry, tell me that. That's where I got that from. I mean, they're like, Cindy, they don't even know what the context is. They don't know why you have to do this O2. They just write it down. Oh, what's the number, 97? What does that mean? Do people really know what that means? What are the different levels on the blood pressure cuff? If people can even use a blood pressure cuff, they use all the digital stuff now, which many doctors, most of my doctors say, they're not fail-safe. You actually need the manual one, does a better job. Okay, well, we know that. Why do we have the digital ones? I mean, some stuff is better in progression stuff. Absolutely. I totally get that. But not everything does. And I think that in a lot of ways, this is heading the stuff off in the past. If you're sitting there doing someone's blood pressure and it's, whatever it is, high or whatever, I would think that would key you to ask a different question, or maybe you're not the doctor, so it's not up to you to do that. Maybe that's where we are right now. There's one person that's in charge, and you're not a part of the team. You are, but you're just this minute part of the team, and let the next guy worry about it. Which to me is, isn't it better with a team? I think we can all agree. I mean, you can do it in sports, you do it in whatever you want to talk about. A good team makes a whole good experience, where if he's just schlepping people along, here you go, here's your next number, here's this, here's that. I mean, many things fall by the wayside. It's just so frustrating. It's just completely frustrating, and I personally don't think it has to be that way. And as the bottom line, is it always about making money? I mean, a lot of these doctors and nurses, God love them, I love them, I do, that they can even stand in these situations, and I don't know how they keep their minds to them, and because I know so many of them are in it for the right reasons, and they're working under this pressure just like we are going in under this pressure as a patient with our 5 or 10 minutes. And I know, and you know this too, Jeannie, talking about asking the questions and whatever, we both know that if you actually sit up and say something for yourself and say, listen, I'm not agreeing to this video, I'm not agreeing to these students, I want to put my initials on there. I mean, you start a whole kerfuffle for yourself that you can't even rein in when you start pushing back against some of these. You know that, Jeannie. You just talked about it with your mom on a podcast. I mean, you just open your world up for so much grief. I've been there. And you're not really, thinking that that's why you want to do it. You're just voicing what is going to be the best thing for you on how you can handle this. And that really isn't a question that exists any longer in a lot of these places. It just doesn't. It's what your date of birth is, what your insurance, and what your copay, and that's it here. This is what we're going to do. The patient is not the center of what it should actually be. And I've got 2 seconds left, and I want to say, stay listening to Evergreen Media Network.